In 2006, 24-year-old Jennifer Kesse mysteriously went missing in Orlando. And now, 18 years later, her father wants answers.
Till the day I die, I'm going to do everything possible that I can to try and find my daughter.
20 years. And the Florida Department of Law Enforcement is now saying for the first time that the Jennifer Kesse case is no longer considered cold. New DNA, a shrinking list of names, and a father who never stopped. Here's a number that should stop you cold. 16. 16 separate frames of surveillance video. 16 still images of the person who parked Jennifer Kesse's car and walked away from it. 16 chances to see a face. And in every single one of them, every single one, a fence post is in the way. Think about the odds of that. A parking lot covered by hidden cameras, a person who walks the entire length of it. The cameras are running. The cameras get him. 16 times the shutter catches him, and 16 times a vertical slat of fencing lands across his face like a black bar someone drew there on purpose. The FBI was brought in to study those frames. NASA enhanced the footage, and after all of it, after the most sophisticated image analysis in the United States government was aimed at those 16 pictures, here is everything they could tell the world about the person who took Jennifer Kesse. They were between 5'3" and 5'5". That's it. 20 years, that's what we have. Most people who know this case know the shape of it. A beautiful young woman vanished from her condo in Orlando in 2006. Her car turned up a mile away, and there's that famous grainy photo of the guy behind the fence. It's one of the most recognizable images in American true crime. That version isn't wrong. It's just incomplete in a way that matters, because it treats those fence posts like bad luck, like a cruel coincidence. But this case is not a story about bad luck. It's a story about time, about the 2 days that passed before anyone looked at that car, about the 12 years her parents had to fight in court against the police just to read their own daughter's case file, about a piece of evidence that sat untested for the better part of 2 decades. That's what this video is actually about. Not the fence, everything that happened behind it. Everything you're about to hear is drawn from the public record, from Orlando Police Department reports and the 16,000 pages of case file her family obtained through litigation. From the FBI, which took the case over in 2010. From the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's Cold Case Unit, and from its public statements in 2025. From the Florida legislature's own findings. And from Jennifer's father, Drew Kesse, who has spent 20 years speaking on the record. Not tabloid speculation. Verified findings. Let's start where it started. Jennifer Joyce Kesse was 24 years old. She had a finance degree from the University of Central Florida, class of 2003. She was a finance manager at a timeshare company out in Oakland. A real job, a serious one, the kind you get when you're 24 and you've decided what you want your life to look like. She had just bought her own condominium in Orlando. Not rented, bought. At 24, she had a boyfriend and a habit with him. Every single morning before she left for work, she'd text him or call him. Every morning. That small, unremarkable ritual is going to matter more than almost anything else in this story. The weekend before she disappeared, she was in the Virgin Islands, St. Croix, a vacation with her boyfriend, sun and water, and nothing at all wrong. She flew home Sunday, stayed at his place that night. And on Monday morning, January 23, 2006, she drove straight from his house to the office. She left work around 6 that evening. At 6:15, driving home, she called her father. They talked. Ordinary things. That was the last time her family ever heard her voice. At 10 o'clock that night, she called her boyfriend. They said goodnight. And then, at some point in the next 12 hours, Jennifer Kesse walked out of her front door and out of the world. Here is what the inside of that condo said the next day. A wet towel, clothes laid out. The unmistakable signature of a woman who had gotten up, showered, dressed, and gotten ready for work. Exactly as she did every other morning of her life. No forced entry, no sign of a struggle inside. Nothing knocked over, nothing broken, nothing taken. Her home was completely hauntingly normal. She just wasn't in it, and neither was her car. So the question that has now been asked for 20 years, is what happened in the space between her front door and her black 2004 Chevy Malibu. The morning of Tuesday, January 24th, her boyfriend waited for the call that always came. It didn't. He tried her. It went straight to voicemail. He told himself she must be in that meeting she'd mentioned. He tried again. Voicemail. At her office, she didn't show. No call, no show. And for Jennifer, that was so far out of character that her employer didn't shrug it off. They called her parents. Her parents were 2 hours away, in Tampa. They got in the car. On the drive, they phoned the manager of her condominium complex and asked him to go in with the spare key. He did. He came back and told them what they must have desperately wanted to hear and would spend the rest of their lives replaying. Everything looks normal inside. The car's just gone. They arrived around 3 in the afternoon. They walked into their daughter's home, saw the wet towel and the clothes, understood instantly what it meant, and called the police. And the police, because Jennifer was 24 years old and legally an adult, initially took the position that she might simply have left of her own accord. Let that sit for a second. A woman who had just bought a condo, who had a job she showed up to, a boyfriend she called every single morning, a family she phoned on the drive home, and the first official posture was that maybe she just walked away from all of it. But the condo was only the beginning of what the evidence would reveal. Because at that exact moment, while her parents were pinning flyers to poles and her father was begging anyone to listen, a camera about a mile away had already recorded the whole thing. It had been recording for 2 days. Here's a detail that tends to get lost. On Tuesday, January 24th, at roughly 12 noon, while Jennifer's boyfriend was still telling himself she was in a meeting, someone drove Jennifer's black Malibu into the parking lot of an apartment complex 1.2 miles from her home. They parked it, they got out, and they walked away, and they were on camera the entire time. That footage existed on Tuesday. Nobody watched it on Tuesday. The car sat in that lot Tuesday. It sat there Wednesday. It sat there through Thursday morning, abandoned, in plain view, a mile from a search that had the whole city's attention. It was not found by police. It was found because a tenant of that complex saw Jennifer's car on the news, looked out at the parking lot, and recognized it. He called them. That was Thursday, January 26th at 8:10 in the morning. 2 days. The most important piece of evidence in the case sat unexamined for 2 days. Investigators pulled the tapes. And there he was, the person of interest, parking her car, getting out, walking off, and the fence. Always. The fence. The complex's parking lot was ringed by a fence with vertical slats, and the cameras looked through it, which meant that in frame after frame, in the 2-second gaps where the fence should have cleared and the face should have appeared, the timing was wrong. The camera captured the body. It captured the walk. It captured the clothing. It never once captured the face. The FBI could establish height, 5'3" to 5'5", and nothing more definitive. Not the face. Not with certainty even the gender. Forensics went over the Malibu, and the car gave them almost nothing. A latent print, a small DNA fiber. That's it. Because the car had been wiped down. Understand what that tells you? This was not a panicked kid who stole a car. Whoever parked that Malibu took the time, after everything else that had happened, to clean it. They thought about fingerprints. They knew what evidence was. And here's the part that rules out the easy explanation. Valuables were left inside the car. Robbery wasn't the motive, but some things were gone, and the list is very specific. Her cell phone, her iPod, her keys, her purse, her briefcase, and the outfit she was wearing. Her phone never turned back on, never pinged a single tower, not once in 20 years. Her bank card has never been used, not one transaction, not one withdrawal. A search dog picked up her scent at the abandoned car and tracked it back toward her own condominium complex, which suggested something detectives found deeply unsettling. After ditching the Malibu, the person may have walked back to where she lived, like they had a reason to be there. But here is the question that should already be forming in your mind. If nothing was stolen, if there was no forced entry, if the car was wiped clean and abandoned within walking distance of her home, then who was close enough to Jennifer's life to know when she left for work? Investigators asked it too, and they started working outward from the people around her. They looked at her family, as they always do. They looked at her boyfriend. He was questioned, and he was eliminated. They looked at an ex-boyfriend who had recently been upset and wanted to get back together with her. They questioned him, and he was ruled out too. They took her work computer. Forensic examination turned up that a manager at her company had wanted a relationship with her and that Jennifer had turned him down because she didn't believe in workplace relationships. Detectives interviewed him more than once. He was ultimately ruled out as well. And then there was the construction. At the time Jennifer vanished, her condominium complex was in the middle of a major expansion. There was a worksite where she lived, and Jennifer had told her family, more than once, that she was being catcalled and whistled at and harassed as she came and went. Investigators wanted to interview the laborers on that site. Many of them did not speak English, and according to the record, because of the language barrier, investigators were unable to interview many of them. Read that sentence again, because it's not an accusation. Nobody from that work site has ever been charged with anything, and it would be wrong to suggest otherwise. It's something worse than an accusation. It's an admission that in a homicide-grade investigation, in one of the biggest missing persons cases in Florida history, there was a set of witnesses standing at the scene, and the state of Orlando's investigative resources in 2006 was such that they could not talk to them. Nobody knows what those interviews would have produced. That's the whole point. Nobody ever will. The years that followed are their own kind of cruelty. In 2007, Jennifer's company offered a $1 million reward, with a deadline of July 4th and one condition attached: she had to be found alive. Nobody ever claimed it. In 2008, the Florida legislature unanimously passed a bill named partly for her, the Jennifer Kesse and Tiffany Sessions Missing Persons Act, to reform how the state handles missing persons cases. A law with her name on it while she was still gone. In 2010, at the urging of Orlando's police chief, the FBI took the case over. And in 2018, 12 years in, Jennifer's parents did something families are not supposed to have to do. They sued the Orlando Police Department, not to punish it, to see the file, to read the investigation into their own daughter's disappearance. They won. The suit settled in March 2019, and the Kesse family finally received 16,000 pages of records. 16,000 pages, 12 years. A lawsuit. That is what it cost to be allowed to look. Which brings us to now. In December 2022, the case was handed to the Cold Case Unit of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, a state agency with resources Orlando PD never had. And the FDLE did something simple and devastating in its simplicity. They started reading, all 16,000 pages, and they started re-interviewing people, around 45 of them, and they started retesting evidence, including evidence that Jennifer's family says had never been tested at all. On May 20th, 2025, which would have been Jennifer's 44th birthday, the FDLE went public. They said they had identified several persons of interest. They said modern artificial intelligence tools might finally be able to do what the FBI and NASA couldn't in 2006, reconstruct the face behind that fence. And they said the words this family had waited 19 years to hear. The case is no longer considered cold. Then, on October 21st, 2025, Jennifer's father, Drew Kesse, announced something more. The FDLE had found DNA, inside evidence that had never previously been tested. That directly contradicted what the Orlando Police Department had said for years, that the only DNA in the case had come from the steering wheel. There was more. There had been more the whole time. It had simply never been looked at. Drew Kesse said the list of persons of interest had been greatly reduced, and he said that they now have a better chance of finding Jennifer than they have had in any year since 2006. Here's what makes this case matter beyond one parking lot in Orlando. Jennifer Kesse's case was never unsolvable. That's the thing people get wrong about it. This was not a body in a wilderness with no witnesses. There was a car. There was video. There was a print. There was DNA, more DNA than anyone was told. There was a work site full of people who were there. The evidence was there. It was there on day one. What was missing was time, and attention, and resources, and a system willing to move fast enough. 2 days for anyone to look at the car, 12 years for her parents to be allowed to read the file, nearly 2 decades for a piece of evidence to be tested. And the passage of time, which used to be a killer's greatest ally, is finally turning on them. The same fence that hid a face in 2006 is now being fed into software that did not exist when Jennifer was alive. The same evidence that gave up nothing then is giving up DNA now. Jennifer Kesse has been missing for more than 20 years. She has never been found. Nobody has ever been arrested. As of this recording, that is still true. But it is, for the first time in a very long time, not the end of the sentence. Her father is still talking. The FDLE is still testing. And somewhere out there, a person between 5'3" and 5'5", who once walked past 16 cameras and got lucky 16 times, is watching this case wake up. And Jennifer's case didn't happen in isolation. There is another young woman in another American city whose car was also found abandoned within walking distance of her home, wiped down, valuables untouched, and whose case sat cold for decades until a single piece of retested evidence broke it open and produced a name nobody expected. Her story is just as devastating as this one, and it shows you exactly what can happen when someone finally opens the box. That story is coming next. Go watch it.